Where have all the triplets gone? The mystery explained. The rise and fall of triplet births in the US is a dangerous roller coaster that thankfully appears to be stabilizing. In the 1980s, the number of triplets born in the country suddenly exploded, escalating fivefold in just 2 decades. From that peak, however, the rate of multiple births from a single pregnancy has taken a dramatic plunge. According to a new report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, the number of triplet and higher order births plummeted between 1998 and 2023 by nearly 65%. At the same time, quadruplet and higher order births declined by 80%. Unlike America's general birth rate, which is on a precipitous 30-year drop, this coinciding plunge in multiple births is considered a positive turn of events. It's a response to rapid advancements in fertility treatments and the increasing age in which people are choosing to have children. The very first test tube baby was born in 1978 through in vitro fertilization, IVF, and in the 1980s and 90s, when success rates were low, it was routine practice in many nations to transfer several fertilized eggs to increase the odds of pregnancy. So began the dramatic increase in the rate of multiple pregnancies, which come with greater risks of death and illness for both the mother and the offspring, including preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, postpartum hemorrhage, and low birth weight for the children. Triplets are almost certain to be born preterm. In 1997, a study found the risk of having a triplet from the transfer of 3 embryos during IVF was about 7.5%, which the authors at the time deemed unacceptably high. Transferring only 1 or 2 embryos prevents such adverse outcomes, which is why in the early 2000s, the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, ASRM, recommended no more than 2 embryos be transferred in patients under the age of 35. Their goal was to eliminate quadruplets and limit triplets to under 2% of IVF cases. There is no national law in the US to cap the number of embryos that can be transferred in a single IVF cycle, but assisted reproductive technology, ART, is one of the most highly regulated of all medical practices in the nation, and most providers seem to be following federal guidelines and state rules. Data from the UK estimates the average IVF pregnancy rate using frozen embryos has gone from 7% in the 1990s to 36% in 2021, which has impacted the risk-benefit equation for multiple transfers. Between 1998 and 2011, studies show there was a 70% reduction in the transfer of 3 or more embryos during IVF in the US. From 2009 onwards, the new CDC report reveals there was a 52% decline in multiple births of triplets or more in the US. Among white women who have the greatest access to IVF in the US, the rate of triplet or higher order births declined by 62% during the same time period. If you look at the CDC's numbers, you can see these declines follow every year or two after the guidelines updates have happened. Micah Hill, president of the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology, said, "These guidelines have evolved, and as the technology has evolved," adds Hill, who was not involved in the CDC report. She said, "I think it's been successful in making fertility treatment safer, which is really what we care about when we're talking about reducing these higher order multiples." As of 2020, more than 80% of embryo transfers in the US involved just 1 embryo. To improve that number even more, researchers at ASRM have advised expanding insurance coverage in the US to fertility issues. If someone cannot afford multiple IVF procedures, patients and providers may face greater temptation to transfer multiple embryos to improve their chances of pregnancy, even if that increases the associated risks. And this is on Science Alert by Carly Casella. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.